Hello, welcome back to the Kitchen Table Modelers Workshop. My name's Ian. This is my kitchen table where I do all my modelling. So, in this video we are going to revisit a kit that I did an inbox review and sprue tour a little while ago. If you look over my shoulder you can see we've got Amusing Hobbies 1/35th scale British Army Centurion Mk5 AVRE, which stands for Armoured Vehicle Royal Engineers. So this is a vehicle that the British Army Royal Engineers used from probably the mid-70s through till the early 90s, and it eventually finished up service time, taking part in the First Gulf War, and was stationed in the British Army of the Rhine. And I'll put the link below. If you want to look back at my first inbox review, you can see that I was really quite excited about this kit. It's the first time this kit has been tooled in plastic. And it's an unusual tooling. You don't often see British Army Engineers vehicles tooled, so it ticked all the boxes in my book. What I wanted to do is, now that I've got the kit built, is just to go through the build process and highlight anything that you may need to sort of finesse a little bit to get together to fit well. Wasn't much, I must say. The overall build was quite easy, and the overall fit and finish of the parts was really quite good. Although there was a couple of things that weren't explained very well or misleading in the instruction, but we can cover those when we get to it. So before I get the kit into primer and then paint, I thought we'll have a look at the plastic as it's glued together straight out of the box. No alterations, no photo etch, no additions. It is just an out of the box build. We can see how it went together and how easy it was, and any thoughts and critique I've got of the kit. So enough waffling from me. I'm really good at doing that, as you probably guessed. Let's get the camera down on the table and have a look at the kit. Okay, so here we have the kit on the table. Now, there's a couple of things I just wanted to say or make mention of before we have a quite close look around the kit. In the comments on the review, the first review video, then had a question from Kenneth Griffin asking, can we build the kit with dozer blade on the up travel position? Well, in answer to that, you can build it in any position you want, because if you're careful with the glue, the blade is fully movable and posable, so you can glue it in any position you want, leave it movable, or again, you can bury it in the dirt, pushing dirt or sand, whatever you want to do. So just thought I'd make mention of that. And the other thing I need to mention is I had a comment from Kenneth Gambles. Now, Kenneth, I believe, is possibly an ex-serviceman, but he was able to tell me that he had knowledge of this very vehicle, and he probably served on it, but he also clarified the comments I made about the Irish flag, and that they were actually flown on this vehicle, and they were flown because it was the flag of the vehicle commander, a guy called Paddy Kirk. So I have to say thanks very much to Keith Gambles for that information. And he also clarified that the Browning machine gun that I questioned whether it should be a Browning or a British Army GPMG, he's actually clarified that the Browning machine gun is the correct machine gun for the build. So I'm very grateful for him to take the time to comment and give me the right information about the vehicle and the overall finish. So it really is appreciated. It just shows you how the people involved in this community are great, supporting one another and keeping people right on the information. So anyway, that's that. Let's have a look at the kit. Now, I've fastened the kit together just with a little bit of white tack, just so we can get an overall look of it. So we have the turret with the applique armour. That's actually glued on because you can get onto the underside and get a decent layer of paint all around. The barrel is movable, it's posable, as is the machine gun, although I've glued it in the wrong position, so it's actually glued over the hatch. So until I get it skewed off to one side, you won't be able to get the hatch open. I've left the hatches just stuck down with a bit of white tack because I'm going to think about getting a couple of figures and make this into a diorama, though I have fastened the driver and co-driver position hatches down, and I still have a little bit of PE to put on the side of the viewing ports for the driver's hatch. Now, dozer blade, as I said, is fully posable. If you look at the kit instructions, then it's posing it with the top of the blade folded down. I've actually folded it up because I quite like that, and I'm going to chip this up to get the paint metal worn look on the front. I'll cover that in a future video. Now what I can do is I can just pop that off. You can see the white tack holding it on. So that comes off, that's a unit to paint on itself. And then the turret comes off, that's a unit to paint on itself. And then the side skirts are in 3 pieces. There we go. So they can be painted separately from the kit and glued on at the last minute. And then that leaves the hull. Now all these wheels are removable for painting, as are the dry sprocket and idler wheel. The tracks probably will come to part at one point, but I have actually run a little bit of Tamiya extra thin over them just to give them a little bit more purchase, because they're quite fragile. So if we look through the kit instructions, there was no problems on this page here. These parts I've left off because they'll only be used when I come to glue it all together. This went together well. The suspension is fully movable. However, and I'll say that with a caveat, it's not going to move continuously. It's not going to be able to be pushed around the floor like a toy. It's going to be movable enough for you to pose it if you want to put it over rough terrain. But I'm actually going to glue mine solid, because I think unless you've got some sort of either using a hot screwdriver to flatten over the ends here, or put a piece of cut pipe to use as a washer to hold all this together, these bits do tend to come apart as you manipulate the running gear. So personally, I'm going to glue it solid when before I paint it, but it is positionable if you want to position it over rough terrain. This part of the construction, part 3 and 4, absolutely no problem. Part 5, absolutely no problem. You do need to do the track tension once you've got the tracks constructed, just to get it in the right position, and then obviously get an equal tension on both tracks, because obviously each set of tracks has the recommended number 102 links. The tracks themselves didn't need any cleanup. They clipped together well. On the whole, they held together well, but on the longer stretches of runs, they did have a habit of breaking, which is why I ended up just putting a thin run of Tamiya extra thin, just to give them a bit more strength, although there is 1 or 2 links that I've obviously not got it on, and it will come apart, which will work in fine for me for getting the tracks off to paint them before I put it all together. Parts 7 and 8, 9 and 10 were fine. There was no problem whatsoever in any of that. As was the fit of parts 11 and 12, the multi-part hull deck. It fits perfectly. You know, hats off to Amusing Hobbies, including, you know, you've got, if you look from part 11 through to part 14, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate pieces, including the front glasses plates, that go together on the whole deck, and they all fit perfectly. There's no filler. The only thing there is, and it's a recurring problem through the whole kit, is find a part that's got it. Yeah, you can see here where there's that white witness mark. A lot of the ejector pins had great big protrusions on the back that needed to be cut off and flashed and sanded away, and there was a few on the front glasses plate that you have to take your time to clean to get a good fit. But once you cleaned it all up, absolutely no problem at all. The fit is really, really good. I was very impressed. The exhausts themselves went together perfectly, and as I said in the review video, I don't know if you can see that, if I can get it to focus, you can see that there is actually on the fishtail enough detail that you can dry brush that with a black wash, and you're going to get the look of a hollow exhaust, which is fantastic. I mean, really, really well done. All the tools went on very well. The track guards went on very well. It was very simple to cut the side skirts apart with the engraved lines that was on the rear, and as you saw, they fitted very, very well on the side. Parts 19 and 20 went together well. That was just a repeat of the other side. Then I came to doing the toe cables, and this is where I got in to a bit of a problem. Is they're saying 11 centimeters for the correct length of the toe cables. Now, if this was Tamiya instructions, that mark there between those two lines and those two lines will have been 11 centimeters, and I made the assumption that that was the correct size without measuring it, and that was my fault. It isn't. You're about 5 to 10 centimeters too short. So if we look at the toe cables I've got on here, which I'm going to have to go with because I don't have any replacements, and they're all glued in, you can see that they're supposed to lock in to the end of the toolboxes here, but there is a gap, and I'd honestly say they're probably in the region of about a centimeter, 10 millimeters up to 15 millimeters too short. So when you're building this, you come to the toe cables, get out a ruler and measure 11 centimeters on a ruler. Don't go by what's on the plans, because it's not right, and you're going to end up in problems where I ended up. It's a bit of a shame, but I'll just have to live with it. I can't change it now, and it's just one of those things. Right, moving on to the dozer blade. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. Just take your time and it all goes together well. The only thing I'd say is that the connecting points here are actually just a pin that goes right through this housing. Just be canny with the glue. Just put a little bit of glue here and here so it doesn't actually glue up the whole part, and then it's completely movable and posable, and that gives you loads of options for when you come to doing the diorama. So perfect, works well. That'll fasten on once I've got the lower hole and the dozer blade painted properly. The turret goes together. The fit, again, just make sure you drill the holes here, and there are some ejector pins. They don't actually foul the fit, but it's just good to get rid of them. Take your time with this, is what I'll say. It fits really, really well. Absolutely no problem. You can see that with the turret. It's no problem whatsoever. There is a little bit of a seam line there that, to be honest with you, all I'm going to be doing is sanding it flush, filling it if it needs to with a little bit of sprue goo, and then I'll just use Tamiya extra thin and stipple it just to get that cast texture back in. It's not going to take much work to do, believe you me. It's not going to take any work at all. I already did it on the turret behind the bustle, and you can't see it. If you weren't fussed, let's face it, nobody's going to see the underside of the turret, so you don't need to worry, but you know, it is what it is. If you look in there, you can actually see one of those huge ejector pin extrusions. Take your time to get rid of them. If you take your time, it works fine. The gun was a one-piece moulding. You have to put the fume extractor on in 2 parts, but it's no problem. And then obviously the barrel has got the rifling detail on, which is fantastic. These parts here and here, they are for the fascine carriers. Now, a fascine is just basically a big bundle of pipes that gets dropped into a ditch. This tank doesn't have the fascine carriers on because it has the explosive reactive armor, but these parts are part of the fascine kits that were left on the tank. There isn't a mark for these as such on the vehicle, so you need to take your time to get them in the right place and get them centered down the turret. Now, if you hold the gun barrel in the uppermost position and look down it, you can use that as a guide to get these centered. This one's not too bad to put on because you can reference it with this molded part. This one's a little bit more tricky, as is this piece here. So take your time, get them right, and they'll be fine. Once we moved on from the turret construction, we then moved on to the side stowage bins. They went together, absolutely no bother at all. We have the cable reel holder. That's the only little bit of additions I've done, and all I did was get a little bit of thin copper wire and wound it around the cable drum just to give you the look there's something on it, because there would be in actual life. That's the only non-kit part I've put on this kit. Right, moving on to the turret detail itself, and again, absolutely no bother whatsoever. Note this drawing here. This gives you the overhead position for putting on these roller mechanisms for the Facine carriers, so there is reasonable direction. Just take your time and you'll have no problem at all. Rest of the turret detail, no problem whatsoever. And then we move on to one of the areas that I'm not going to slate it, but it doesn't just fall together, you're going to have to work at it, and that is obviously the photo etch parts for the rear Facine bustle. Oh, so it's not the rear Facine bustle, the rear turret bustle. Now, when they're done, they look really fantastic, quite realistic. The actual photo etch itself is really nice and thin, it's easily worked, but the bend is quite a severe bend. You really have to work at it hard to get that into place. It overlaps a little bit, and there is a little bit of, if you're looking there you can see it's a bit of a wavy edge down the bottom. I'm actually quite happy with that because it makes it look more like a real used vehicle, because believe you me, these vehicles will only get used. This mesh work on the turret bustles and storage bustles, it does get bent, it does get warped, it'll corrode, weaken, replaced over its service life, so it gives it a little bit of realism. So I'm actually quite happy with it, but it did take a little bit to get together. The cleanup on the framework, once you clean it up properly, it goes together really well, but just take your time doing it and it'll be fine. Moving on from that, we have the applique armour, absolutely no bother. Smoke discharges, absolutely no bother. And yeah, final construction, and then you're on to decaling. Now, apart from the towage ropes, the only other thing you need to do and watch for is on the rear of the wheels, so there's a little bit of flash just around the apertures and on the front. So you need to clean that up well in order to get a decent fit. But other than that, it goes together really, really well. So there we have it, folks. That's the build so far. The next job on this build is going to be like I did on all my armour builds. Now it's modular construction, painting the reverse of the side skirts, painting and detailing the front dozer blade, and then painting, detailing all the running gear, wheels and track before I then move on to the upper surfaces of the vehicles. And moving on a bit, when we look at the colour schemes, the scheme I'm actually going to do is this colour scheme here, which is for the British Army of the Rhine, but I'm going to take a bit of a liberty because I'm still going to use the name on the side of the gun, and I'm still going to use these two flags for this particular kit. I'm going to do a bit of weathering, especially on these applique armour here, because I'm going to weather back through the NATO green and down to what would have been the sand finish underneath, just to give it a hint back to the role it played in Gulf War One. And we're going to pose it as a tank that's come back from Gulf War One, being painted back into NATO green, NATO black BAR colour scheme, and then working towards the end of its life before it was demobbed in the mid-90s. So there we are. That is the Amusing Hobbies Centurion Mk5 AVRE. I'm going to get the camera back up and me, we'll sum up, and then we'll look ahead to what's coming up. So there we are, Amusing Hobbies Centurion Mk5 AVRE, a fantastic kit, said it in my initial review how excited I was. That excitement's been carried through to the build. It's a really, really fantastic kit, and it was one of those kits that I struggled to put down. I can't wait to get on, get the primer done, get it into paint. I am actually wanting to film that, so it's not going to happen in a hurry, because I've got to finish the Mk5 which is on the production list. I've also got a couple of other things I want to do to finish off before I dive into this one. So it will be coming in the next couple of months, but once I've gotten the Mk5 out of the way and tidied up a few loose ends. But I said it in the first review, I'll say it again, worth a buy if you're interested in British armour. It's an unusual subject, it's a eye-catching subject, it'll make a fantastic model. So don't hesitate, just click buy, go for it, build it and enjoy it. You really, really won't regret it. So if you have any comments, suggestions of what you've seen, if there's anything else I can do differently, please put them below. I always take time to read and reply to comments, and if you'd like to subscribe and press the notification bell, that's fantastic. I'd appreciate that as well. So until next time guys, happy modelling, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.